Betrayal tests your heart, not just your trust. When you are betrayed, it is more than a wound to your confidence in another person. It is a wound that cuts deep into the chambers of your heart. Trust, once shattered, can often be rebuilt with time and effort, but the real struggle lies within the unseen places of your soul, where hurt and disappointment linger. Betrayal is not just about someone failing you. It is about the echo of that failure that tries to shape the way you see yourself and the way you see the world. It questions your worth. It whispers lies that you are not enough, not valuable, not worthy of loyalty. This is why betrayal does not only test your trust, it tests your heart. When someone betrays you, your trust is shaken. But trust can be measured. You can count how many times someone has failed to keep a promise, how many lies were told, how many times they walked away. Trust is something that can be recorded, marked, tracked. But the test of the heart goes far deeper, for it is not about what can be counted, but about what cannot be seen. The heart must wrestle with bitterness, must battle against despair, must fight the temptation to close itself off so that it will never be vulnerable again. And that is the true trial. Trust can be earned back or lost forever, but the heart, if it hardens, can lose its ability to love altogether. When betrayal comes, the real question is not whether you will ever trust that person again, but whether you will allow your heart to stay open to love, to kindness, to hope. Some people go through betrayal and carry it like a chain around their necks for the rest of their lives. They walk into every relationship with suspicion. They look into every eye with doubt. They expect failure. They expect lies. They expect abandonment. And slowly, without realizing it, their heart becomes a fortress. No one can get in, but they themselves cannot get out. This is the test betrayal brings. Will you let your heart be hardened, or will you choose to keep it tender? Will you allow the pain to make you bitter, or will you allow it to deepen your compassion for others who have walked the same road? The measure of a person is not found in whether they have been betrayed. We all have. The measure of a person is found in how they respond to that betrayal. Some crumble under the weight of it. Some lash out in anger. Some retreat into loneliness. But some, though scarred and shaken, choose to keep their heart alive. It is in those moments when your trust has been broken that your heart is under the heaviest examination. You may ask yourself questions late at night. Should I ever trust again? Should I let anyone that close again? Should I guard myself so tightly that no one can hurt me anymore? These are honest questions, but they reveal the test. For in wrestling with them, you are deciding what kind of person you will become. Betrayal can steal your peace for a moment, but if you let it, it can steal your future by making you a prisoner to fear and suspicion. The truth is, you will heal. But healing is not just about repairing broken trust. It is about preserving the purity of your heart. If you can walk through betrayal and come out on the other side with a heart that still beats with love, then you have passed a far greater test than trust alone. Because betrayal will always come knocking in one form or another. People will fail you, disappoint you, abandon you, deceive you. But each time the question remains, will your heart remain alive or will it grow cold? To keep a soft heart in a hard world is the bravest choice you will ever make. Forgiveness is strength, not weakness. Many people misunderstand forgiveness. They see it as surrender, as letting someone get away with it, as if to forgive is to erase accountability. They imagine forgiveness as a doormat laid down, trampled on by those who cause pain, but that is not forgiveness. True forgiveness is not the act of dismissing wrong. It is the act of refusing to let wrong rule over you. It is strength, because it takes power to release what you have every right to hold on to. Weakness clings to anger. Weakness demands revenge. Weakness says, I will never let go. But strength rises above and says, I am free when I forgive. Forgiveness is not born out of ease. It is born out of struggle. It is the inner wrestling of the soul when everything within you wants to retaliate. The desire for payback is natural, but forgiveness is supernatural. Anyone can strike back. Anyone can return insult for insult. That is easy. But it takes a strong heart to stand in the middle of pain and say, I release this. It takes strength to resist the pull of bitterness that wants to eat away at your joy. Bitterness consumes from the inside, and yet it feels so justified. That is why forgiveness is such a radical strength, because it refuses the easy road of hatred and chooses the harder road of peace. When you forgive, you are not pretending the wound did not happen. You are not denying the pain. Forgiveness looks pain in the face and acknowledges it fully. It says, yes, I was hurt. Yes, I was wrong. Yes, I carry scars. But then it goes further and says, that hurt will not chain me. That wrong will not dictate my tomorrow. That is the courage of forgiveness. It is strength because it refuses to let the offender control the one they have already hurt. The weak remain tied to their offender. They replay the injury in their minds. They allow the past to sit at the table of their present. They live in the shadow of what was done. But forgiveness breaks that chain. Forgiveness says, I am no longer bound by your action. That is freedom, and only the strong walk in freedom. Weakness wants to dwell in the prison of resentment, but strength walks out of the door with dignity. It is not an instant act for many. Forgiveness can be a process. Some days you may feel like you've let go, and then suddenly the memory returns and the anger rises again. Strength is found in choosing forgiveness repeatedly, in training the heart to release instead of cling. Each time you forgive again, your strength deepens and your freedom grows larger. The offender may never apologize, may never acknowledge their wrong, may never even return. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is about guarding your soul from corrosion. Many equate strength with vengeance. They think strength is the ability to make someone pay, to show them you will not be walked on. But vengeance leaves you as empty as the one who hurt you. True strength is not in making them bow, it is in refusing to bow yourself to bitterness. Forgiveness does not mean trust must be restored. Forgiveness does not mean you allow the same access to your life. Forgiveness simply means you let go of the poison before it consumes you. There is a kind of power in forgiving that no act of revenge could ever bring, because revenge locks you into the same cycle as the one who hurt you. But forgiveness lifts you above it. Strength is in rising higher, in not letting darkness dictate your light. It is in keeping your heart tender even when the world has given you every reason to harden it. Forgiveness is strength because it takes more courage to love again than it does to hate forever. Scars become stories, and stories become strength. Every wound you have carried, every moment of heartbreak, every betrayal, every disappointment, these do not disappear when the pain fades. They leave a mark. They etch themselves into your memory, shaping you in ways you may not even realize. A scar is not the same as an open wound. A wound is raw, painful, bleeding. But when time and healing take place, the wound closes, and in its place remains a scar. That scar is evidence that you have endured. It is proof that pain came, but it did not stay. It is a reminder that you have survived something that tried to break you. The world often looks at scars with shame. People hide them, cover them, pretend they are not there. But a scar is never a sign of weakness. It is a sign of healing. It means that what once could have destroyed you has been overcome. And in that scar is a story. It tells of what happened, of what you faced, of the nights you cried, of the days you thought you would never make it through. Scars speak silently, but they testify loudly. They say, yes, I was broken, but I was also restored. They say, yes, I was hurt, but I am still here. Stories are what connect us as human beings. When you share your scars, you share your survival. Someone else may be walking through a storm you have already endured. They may be bleeding in places where you now carry scars. When they see your scars, when they hear your story, they realize they are not alone. And in that moment, your pain becomes a pathway for someone else's healing. What you thought was a mark of shame becomes a message of hope. what you thought would haunt you forever becomes the very tool that encourages another to keep going. Every scar carries a story, but not every story ends in defeat. Stories, when told with courage, turn into strength. The retelling of your pain becomes the revelation of your perseverance. The more you reflect on how far you have come, the more strength you find in the fact that you endured it. You begin to realize that what once broke you also built you. What once wounded you also made you wiser. What once left you weak has now left you with a resilience you never knew you had. Strength is not found in those who have never been hurt. Strength is found in those who have been hurt deeply and still choose to rise. Scars are the evidence of that strength. They are the visible proof that you did not quit, you did not surrender, you did not let the pain destroy you. They remind you every time you see them that you are stronger than you once believed. And when you speak of them, your story strengthens others. It gives them courage to believe that if you made it through, so can they. Life has a way of weaving pain into purpose. Scars are the threads of that weaving. You may not see it while you are still bleeding, but when healing comes, the mark left behind tells a greater truth. You are not fragile. You are resilient. You are not a victim. You are a survivor. And every time you look at those scars, you are reminded that strength is born in the places where you were once most broken. Stories come from scars, and strength comes from story. It is the rhythm of healing, the pattern of growth, the testimony of every person who has walked through fire and come out alive. The one who broke you cannot define you. When someone hurts you, it feels as if their actions stamp a label on your soul. Their betrayal, their cruelty, their abandonment seems to shout that you are unworthy, that you are not enough, that something in you must be lacking. Pain has a way of making the voice of the offender sound louder than the truth of who you are. But their choices, their failures, their rejection are not the measure of your identity. You are more than what was done to you, and no one holds the power to define your worth unless you hand it to them. People will disappoint you. They may betray the trust you placed in them. They may walk away when you needed them most. They may speak words that cut deeper than any blade. But their actions are a reflection of their own brokenness, not yours. What they did reveals something about their character, not about your value. Yet too often we internalize the harm. We replay their words until they become our inner voice. We relive the moment until it becomes our lens for every other relationship. The test of healing is whether you allow what broke you to dictate who you become. If you believe the one who broke you has defined you, you begin to shrink. You stop dreaming as boldly as you once did. You stop loving as freely as you once could. You stop stepping forward with courage because their actions have become a weight on your soul. But when you realize that their power is limited, that their reach cannot stretch into the core of your being, you reclaim what was always yours, your identity, your dignity, your strength. You are not the names they called you. You are not the rejection they handed you. You are not the betrayal they chose against you. These are chapters in your story, but they are not the title of your life. Every scar they left on you can testify to the fact that they tried, but they did not succeed in erasing who you are. You are not defined by the harm, but by the way you rise from it. You are not defined by the loss, but